War Eagle War Report family, I'm your host, C-Dub. Today we discuss Auburn's first scrimmage of fall camp. Also, we preview the linebacker group, as well as discuss the latest commit in the 2023 recruiting class. All that and more in the latest edition of the Weekend Tailgate.
You are now listening to a War Report Weekend Tailgate, brought to you by Athletic Architect. It's your boy, I Jones. Be real. C-Dog. Mike G. Get ready. Sit on back as we bring you the War Report Weekend Tailgate.
War Eagle, everyone. War Eagle. Happy Sunday. Welcome to the latest and greatest version of the Weekend Tailgate, brought to you by show sponsor Athletic Architects. Guys, if you are a student athlete, parent of a student athlete, related to a student athlete, or you're just out here wanting to start your LLC and need a little guidance, please be sure to visit buildthehouse.com so you can begin planning your financial future today. Also, want to shout out you guys for hanging out with us on this Sunday live. Do us a favor, guys. We appreciate you supporting us. Here's some things you can do to support us for free. Share this video, drop the hashtag, get your weight up, help people to find this content, join in on the discussion. We would love to chat it up with you guys, hang out with you guys, and talk some Auburn football. Smash the like button, and if you're new to this channel, hit subscribe as well as that notification bell. Now, if you're enjoying the content and you don't have a green name, here's how you can do that.
You need to just get your weight up and come on board of the membership train that is the War Report. Early access to videos, including things like building rapport segments. We've kind of tapered off on the building rapport for the off season, which means we are about to ramp up into the football season and all of this film study, the stuff that we do. So you need to get yourself a green name just to be a part of that. $5.99 is the patron level that's going to get you access to the most of the content that we have available. But just make sure that you are a part of the War Report family. We've got a lot of great stuff that's going to be happening during the season. You also need to be a member if you want to be a part of the chat and the post game. Look, we try to keep that as troll free as possible. At least let it be family. So you need to be a member to be able to chat with us post game. Otherwise, you have to wait till after the video goes live, where you can talk with us on Sundays during the tailgate. Today, as always, we are going to be giving stuff away. Actually, before I get into the giveaway, let's just talk about what we've got going on with Josh Pate from 247 Sports. Tomorrow, we're going to be dropping a little something. Myself and Mike G sat down with the young man, Josh Pate, to talk about just where we are with Auburn's program, man, and just quick conversation with him. And he gives us a preview of his thoughts on the program. So you guys tap in with us. That's going to be going live tomorrow for you. You don't have to be a member or anything. We're just going to put that up for everybody off the rip. So check out that interview with Josh Pate going live tomorrow. But let's get to this giveaway. We are giving away a mug today, courtesy of GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. Hashtag get your weight up in the comments if you want to enter to join that giveaway. You have to be present to win. So if you decide that you want to go, get your lunch or whatever around that time, sorry to this man, I don't know what to tell you. You're not going to be able to win. We will move on to the next person in the drawing there. So make sure that you are there. Hashtag get your weight up once again in the comments to be able to do that.
Gentlemen, how are we today? How's everybody?
I'm good.
I'm excited.
I am intrigued by the reactions from the scrimmage, but we'll get into it. But it's been fun.
Yeah.
I'm excited from the scrimmage reports.
Listen, man.
Yeah.
It's hard to contain enthusiasm when you actually feel like things are moving in the proper direction. But
right.
Yeah, man, it's been interesting seeing the reactions out here too.
Hey, ain't nobody got time for that, Ike. Let's get to the good stuff. Let's talk about this. We don't want to hear about how things are progressing. Let's talk about this QB battle. Harsin met with the media. Of course, Auburn had its scrimmage, unless you've been under a rock. Had a scrimmage late last night under the lights in Jordan Hare. It was a situational scrimmage, consisted of things like focusing on red zone offense, so on and so forth. Of course, there were some notes about special teams. Carlson went 4 for 4. Good to hear. But Harsin met with the media and talked pretty extensively about the QB battle and made some pretty strong statements. And actually, what I wanted to do is take time to just kind of focus on some of the things that he clearly discussed coming out of that scrimmage. Let's start with what he had to say about TJ Finley.
I've always been impressed with TJ as far as just his command. He understands. He's very much like a coach on the field. He understands what we're trying to accomplish. I think he's conceptually picks things up very quickly, listens to the details and all little nuances of plays and what everybody's supposed to be doing. If there's a coaching point made, not just for him but anybody, he'll remember that coaching point and be able to echo it whenever it comes up or remind guys, and doesn't have to be a coach, which you appreciate. So there's just a lot of, I think, let me say this, he's got a really good understanding of what we're trying to accomplish, all right, and he listens to those things. So I appreciate that. I thought tonight he was good, led the team down the field. I think he executed well when he needed to in some critical moments. Can improve in just kind of some of the easier throws that we didn't complete tonight. Don't know if that was him or not, but I think there's some things that we can improve in those areas just from an accuracy standpoint. But overall, I thought he operated well.
Kind words from Hart about TJ, and you heard it from the coach himself. One of the biggest things that I think has not been pointed out about Harsin's comments is what I don't even think this is coach speak. This is kind of high praise. He referred to TJ as having another coach on the field.
Yeah.
That's not coach speak, guys. And one thing that is consistent, and I'm gonna let you guys jump in because I did have some initial thoughts. One of the things that Mike G has pointed out, I'm gonna definitely have to credit Mike G because he's definitely said this. Mike G has said that Harsin has prioritized experience. That's a big factor for him, and we know what Zach Calzada brings to this team in terms of arm talent, especially when it comes to vertical throws. We already know what Robbie Ashford brings to this team in terms of his athleticism, right? Those are things that you can argue TJ Finley doesn't have, especially with the athleticism. But this particular head coach prioritizes experience, and you saw a bit of context in that clip in a sense to where you need a guy who understands this coaching staff and what they want to do and be able to communicate that to the other teammates. And it seems like these are some of the things that that is standing out in Harsin as it pertains to TJ. Mike, your thoughts on what Harsin has said? Go ahead, Mike G. Do you want me to make a large screen for you, sir?
Yes.
You want me to take us off? No, yeah, we're gonna take you. All right. Fair enough.
So a lot was said last year about the quarterback race. I have had the same energy the entire time. If you were one of these bowl people who felt like year 4 was going to be the year, I had one clown all over my Twitter tagging Coach Harsin talking about, I trust Coach Harsin to make the right decision. Well, trust him now. I have no energy for you, sir. You have nothing to say. If you were one of these people that's, I trust the coach always makes the right decision, the right guy wins the job. Keep that same energy now. When it appears the guy you hated last year is winning the job. Now, I am of the opinion that no coach is above reproach. You guys have heard me say time and time again, talent evaluation is not an exact science. A guy can win a job. He can look one way in practice. It can look different under the lights. What I hope the coaching staff does is that they're just not willing to die on the first hill. That they will look at their own decisions and say, okay, it looked one way. It's not going the way we thought. That's why we recruited more than one kid. We've seen it time and time again. So now what do we have in TJ Finley? You have a guy who's essentially going into his second year in terms of totality of starts. And to believe that after like 7 or 8 starts in a couple of years that a guy cannot make the jump, any player, is completely ridiculous. So the Bo Brigade, quiet down, pipe down. I don't want to hear from you till the end of the season. Because last year, I had to deal with everybody attacking me for just questioning Harsin on Bo. And this year, if he wins it, I don't want to hear anybody questioning him now. Let's be clear. You made your stance clear last year. The coach is above reproach until he makes a decision you don't agree with. So you either question him all of the time or you question him none of the time. But this two-way double standard based on who we like and who we prefer, I've had enough of that. So the coach, Caesar said it best. He said it's like having another coach on the field. That's high praise for any quarterback. That's not coach speak. Now, I personally felt like Calzada might have been winning the race this offseason, but we have repeatedly said a lot of things can happen in fall camp. We told you guys the stories about Chris Todd, took snaps with the threes, and then won the job in fall camp after missing the entire spring. If we're to believe that the coaches are doing their best job to evaluate players based on what they see on the field, there is no reason not to believe it when he says it now. Other than you had some other reason for why you liked one guy and you disliked the other. Search your soul for whatever that reason is. Now, I'm not here, but the double standards, we're done with that. I've had quite enough. Thank you very much. So if TJ gives us the best chance to win, when game 1 comes, root for Auburn. That's it. We're fan channel. I get it, we're media, but we're fan channel. My only interest is in whoever they put out there plays well. I had that energy for the last guy, and I will have that energy for this guy. But all these people who have different energy, after one scrimmage, by the way, we don't even know if he's going to win the job. Freaking out over the coach just saying he's doing well. Give me a break. There's still another week left in fall camp. He said some great things about Robbie Ashford. He said good things about Zach Calzada. Said he played solid and threw a touchdown pass. If you call yourself a fan, you will root for Auburn. But if you're in our comment section talking about how you're not going to watch football in 2022 if one guy wins the job, kick rocks. Show yourself the door. Exit stage left. That's all I got to say about that.
And he was being nice. He could have said more.
Yeah, right. I didn't even curse in that whole.
Actually, he really is being nice. Knowing
really
the Mike G that I know. Yeah.
I'm over it, man. Like, can we just root for all these guys to do well and maybe just believe that we got 3 guys who could do the job?
Or we have a coach who knows how to develop.
Or, as Mike said, it's the first scrimmage. Calm the F down.
Yeah, like good God. Oh,
we could do that. We could stop pretending as if it's been decided already. And need I remind you, the first game of the season is Mercer.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't have to get sorted out today. Let the kids play it out, man.
Yeah, listen, man.
There's a reason TJ Finley was in the Elite 11 when he came out of high school. There's a reason why he was the number 2 guy at LSU when he came out of high school. There's a reason why they recruited him to Auburn in the transfer portal. Maybe he actually is talented and he needed some time to develop to get the game speed. Maybe it's possible. I'm not saying that's definitely true, but what I'm saying is if you've made up your mind today, there is absolutely no way TJ Finley could possibly lead us to more than 4 or 5 wins. How have you come to that conclusion? Again, unless you had that same energy for every other quarterback we've had.
But the only way they can keep that energy now is to crap on the other quarterbacks.
Yeah,
because
because
these guys can't possibly be good.
They
if TJ
can't
beat
be
them.
good. So
And that's the
here's a
next,
couple of
and
things.
that is
And I don't
exactly
like that,
where
and I don't
some
like
people
that
are
either.
heading. That's
But
exactly
no,
where
but
some people are heading.
Here's the only conclusions you can draw from TJ Finley is going to be the starter, so we must be terrible. Is that one of a few things you've assumed already? Every quarterback behind him is worse than him. You got to be in that category. Our coaches can't evaluate the quarterback. You have to be in that category.
Right.
Or you're in this third group of people who are, our offensive line is so terrible, TJ doesn't stand a chance behind that O-line.
Yeah.
So you either dislike our O-line, dislike our coach, or dislike the chances of anybody behind him. Or you got some mixture of the three. But you can't possibly like the coach, think our offensive line is decent, and say TJ has no chance. All of those things can't be true.
That can't be true.
Which, by the way,
Yeah.
Harsin did says there was not a lot of negative plays by the offensive line. That came out of his mouth yesterday, talking about the O-line. So he's been speaking well about them too.
But it's the same people who feel like our O-line can't make the jump as well either.
Mhm.
You know, we've been consistent about saying guys can improve. Guys can improve. We paid $21 million to get rid of the last dude so we could get somebody in here who could help guys improve.
Right.
Is it so hard to believe that in year 2, he's doing the job that we paid him to do?
Because let's be clear, I've said this. Bo Nix improved over the course of last season.
Which we acknowledged repeatedly as well.
He did.
And before the show started, we went over some of them first year stats. There were some awful performances in them first 2 years.
Yeah.
Year 1 and year 2. Some numbers that say, can this guy play quarterback? I just don't know how you look at that and then look at this guy just minus the running ability and say, hang it up. Should have never picked up a football ever, according to some of these people. So I don't
see. Here's the thing, my guys. And again, Harsin is telling you what he's looking. Just listen to your head coach, and you'll start to at least, if you listen and think critically. That's a big if. But if you think critically, he talked about lining up. One of the things is a leadership opportunity because he values leadership. If a running back is lined up wrong, what does the quarterback do? In other words, he goes on to say, you need to know your offense. He's not talking about arm strength. He's not talking about athleticism. He's not talking about if he beat Bama last year. Do you know your offense? That to me is something that I'm looking at, not just TJ, but the 2 newest guys in your QB room. 3 if you count Holden Garner.
Right.
Do Calzada and Robbie know the offense enough to give Harsin the comfort 2 weeks out from the season starting?
Right. Yeah. It don't have to.
That's
be
the
there
question.
Week 1. Yeah. Like I was saying, it's Mercer first game.
Yeah.
We don't have to be there week 1, right? I think we have a shutdown defense.
But compared to what TJ's doing, he sees that.
Right.
At least that's what appears to be the case.
And listen, I understand that this sounds like a TJ Cape session, right? And it's not. Let me be abundantly clear on this. I don't know what TJ Finley's going to do in a game yet.
Right.
My point is, neither do you.
Right. Yeah. But the meltdown that's happening right now over just the guy saying that he did well, and it seemingly being that what people thought all offseason he had no shot, is now not looking great.
But and again, so my other point on this is that this is going to sound like I'm crapping on all our quarterbacks, so forgive me. Zach Calzada had an up and down year last year too. He had some games where he played great. He had some games where he played poorly. So it's not as so you either are hopeful that this coaching staff and another year of experience can improve a quarterback, or you're saying, I don't want to see either of those guys. Give me the unknown in Robbie.
Yeah, your question really isn't about, I think that's a great point. Your question really isn't about the guys. It's about the guy coaching the guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're a Harsin hater, then it really doesn't matter what decision he makes. You're going to find a way to crap on it.
Yeah.
Whether it's like I said, whether it's the O-line or it's, anything else, play call, you're going to find a way to crap on this decision if you're not a Harsin believer, right? Yeah. But if we believe that the coach can do the job in development, which there's evidence of that, because we had a guy who was very inconsistent, and he had his most consistent season in year one of this coach, then there's no reason to believe that can't be applied to the other guys in this room as well. That includes Zach Calzada, Robbie Ashford, and TJ Finley. It's scrimmage number one. There's still a lot that can happen. Now, we're going to get to it later, but Harsin did say that it's, we got to start to narrow things down.
Yeah.
Pretty quickly.
Right. And again, as Mike said in his little diatribe there,
monologue.
That's a good word for it. As long as he's not tied to the decision, it still doesn't matter. As long as he trots out a quarterback and he's like, you know what, we gave you a shot, it's not working, we need to change it up. Then all of we're only going to win so many games. That means he won't be there as the starting quarterback for those games. Somebody else will.
Right.
So unless you're saying, well, he's going to wait to game 8 or 9 before he makes that decision. If he's not tied to the decision, then one of two things is going to happen. TJ's going to play well enough for us to win football games, or he's not going to play well enough and he's going to get replaced.
Now you're going to see somebody
else. That's really so again, it comes back to you have to either trust that Coach Harsin's going to make the right decision at this point, whether it is to start the season or in replacement during the season, or you don't trust the coach.
Yeah, right.
That's all it comes down to, because I seriously cannot stress this, and I don't care who starts against Mercer. I don't. All I care is by the time halftime hits at Penn State, we look competent as an offense, and the guy who started the game is either still playing well in the second half or doesn't trot back out there with the second half offense.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yes, by Penn State, we could feel good about multiple quarterbacks.
We could.
Right? Yeah. Because they're going to play more than one guy in those first two games. Right? So, by Penn State, there could be a very different outlook on how these quarterbacks have developed. Remember, 2014, Jeremy Johnson came in for one half of football.
14. It looked great against Arkansas.
14, yeah. That one half of football gave fans so much hope that we might actually be developing a pipeline at quarterback where a guy can come in and perform to an acceptable level for us to win football games. And it should. We just have to. What we hope Harsin is bringing to Auburn for probably the first time ever since we've been students and fans is that we can trust the development at that position, so that it is an expectation that the guy stepping in for the job will perform to an acceptable level more consistently than we've had in the past. Right. So fans are jaded. I get it. We've had a long kind of weird history with quarterback at this school. It just seems like all the other pieces have been there. And then whenever we find a dynamic quarterback, it's like instant contention for a national title. That's held true every single time. Think about it. 2004, Jason Campbell took the step, undefeated. 2010 Cam, boom, national title. Nick Marshall, 30 seconds away, 3 points. Jarrett Stidham, they were one game away from the playoff. One game away from the playoff. This team has been in. They beat 2 number ones in the same season.
And so here's another point I want to make about last year's quarterback competition. We on this channel were all like, yo, is there anybody else who can play? It turns out, you know what? The coach was right. TJ wasn't ready to step in and play football for Auburn University. So despite what we thought about the play of Bo Nix at quarterback, the coach made the right decision about who he was starting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that actually gives me more trust. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He can evaluate the people in his room and say, you know what? This kid's not ready. This kid's not ready. He gives us the best chance to win, even though it's frustrating for me as a fan to say, God, is that the best we have? The answer to that was actually
yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yes.
But to be clear, when I see questionable things on the field and then you stick with that decision, I'm going to question you.
Right.
That's fair.
I'm going to question why we have to stick with the questionable thing that.
But I think I think what's happening, Mike, is that Harsin is addressing even what you were questioning last year.
Right.
he had to stick with that guy. Well, now he's in a situation where he doesn't have to do that.
Maybe, right? Okay,
that's the hope, right?
So while we're doing this, that takes me. I just want to address this comment while we're on it. Listen, love Lisa. Lisa's our girl here every show, but I do want to address this, right? The second part of this is pulling for TJ, but to be able to pull it all together, there's also a reason, despite the hype, he was pulled from the starting role at LSU. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair for a true freshman who was thrust into duty because the starter got hurt.
Didn't have a spring, by the way. That
in
was
a COVID season.
Yeah.
In a COVID season. We're 2 years later. We have to let go of what happened his freshman year at LSU. You have to be able to let go of that and move on from that. Like, you know,
or you have to give him credit for the games he played well is also.
Right. The South Carolina game, which our quarterback completely crapped the bed against.
That's true. 3
picks in that game against South Carolina in 2020. 3. TJ shredded him up. So it's got to just work both ways. I think he was a developmental player. I think the staff at LSU recognized that, which is why he was in the backup role. He came in. Nobody got a spring in 2020. Nobody. COVID took that from everybody. And then that program was clearly on the decline from a coaching standpoint because they fired everybody. So I don't know that I'm holding a kid accountable for something that happened at another program where they completely disbanded the staff and play went downhill after Joe Burrow left. No Joe Burrow, no Joe Brady. That was a whole different program. That offense was not the same after Joe Brady left, right? You know, and then he comes here and he doesn't get a spring with this team either. He doesn't get a spring at Auburn, right? And he goes through the season and like, you know, you said, Caesar, in hindsight, you know, maybe he wasn't ready last season. I don't know that we can continue to hold that against him, though, against any player under those same circumstances. That's all I'm saying. So, like, I just that the narrative about what he did at another school 2 years ago, like, I just don't, you know, if we're to believe that guys get better, you have to believe that a guy just is what he is when he comes in and he'll never be anything more. The first thing you see is all he's ever going to be.
Well, and before, and I want to move on because we do have some other clips we need to take a look at. That has happened before under the previous coaching staff. And what has happened is a lot of us as fans have been conditioned to expect the same guy on day one to be the same guy on day 100, right. 200, right? We've been conditioned. I think we have a coach who's different. These guys are actually going to be better at day 200 than they were at day 1, but it's a process. Even with Calzada, even with Robbie, those guys are having to learn the offense. There's a lot of nuance and details that that's being required of them in this offense. That's a learning curve. Doesn't mean they can't catch up, but there's a learning curve. And now in live action, you got to put it all together. The guy who's been here the longest has the upside in that competition.
Right.
Another clip that Harson talked about. He talked about some newcomers. Want to get you guys' thoughts on it.
But just a few standouts. I thought Damari Alston ran the ball well today. So we had a couple of freshmen that stood out. Damari Alston stood out. Thought he ran the ball really well. And then Camden Brown had a touchdown tonight. So those are 2 freshmen that I thought played well. Var had 3 catches. Shanker had a couple of catches. Fromm had a couple of catches. Shanker also had a touchdown tonight, which was good. Quarterbacks, I thought all did some really good things. Finley operated well tonight. That was good to see. Thank you. And you know, I thought we had a long drive on the very first drive with the first group. It was about 14 plays. So he executed well on that drive. I thought Robbie did well too, making some plays and operated the huddle and did some good things on that part, on his part. Calzada, solid tonight, had a touchdown as well.
Can I just compliment Mountain Man Harson real quick on, you know, the rugged beard thing he's got going on, you know?
Yeah.
He joined Beard Gang over the last couple of weeks. So Brian Harson, holla at me. I got some products I can, if you want to embrace the life, bro, I got you. Holla at your boy.
We've seen a couple different versions. We've seen Musclehead Harson. We've seen Bro Harson. We've seen Hang Ten Harson. And now we got
Beer game.
Bushman. It's amazing. This dude.
Shout out to JT Martin. I meant to grab your super chat earlier. My apologies, but appreciate you. Glad to hear TJ's taking the lead. I had to check myself this offseason for being too emotional. Now I'm just ready for the season to just watch.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. Thank you for that comment.
And listen, and I get the emotions tied to this, man. We're emotional about our team too, or we wouldn't be sitting here devoting hours of our week to sit here and talk about this, analyze this, chop up video. Like we have a super huge amount of our lives invested in this. I get it. What I don't get is the overreaction, though. I get reacting, but I don't get overreacting.
Based on where we are. Based on where we are today. Thomas Jones, appreciate the super sticker and your comment. I was at Scrimmage yesterday. Point blank, TJ and Robbie played better than Zach.
Hey, that's how competitions go sometimes.
Yeah.
Right?
It's competition. It's refreshing that you have a coach that honors competition. Yeah. Here's the thing with competition. We say we want something, but you don't know who's going to come out on top when you have a real competition.
Right.
Because it's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just possible that all those guys can have ability and you just got a hard decision about who you have to pick to be the guy? Is it always have to be, if this guy wins, it means these guys aren't that good? Like maybe you just got multiple guys who can do the job. You know, the better programs, that's what they're working with.
What they do.
Yeah.
Because you know what? I would hate to be the person that has to make the decision on which wide receivers we're trotting out on the field this year.
Oh, man.
God. I don't want to have to make that decision, bro, because that's hard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's hard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, listen, there's someone named Ike that has to make that decision. Not you. Not you.
I do not envy that.
What do you think about? I want to get you guys take before we get to the break, because we got a lot of stuff to talk about. We heard Harsin speak about Austin. We actually had a building rapport with him not too long ago. That's currently open to the fans. You can definitely check that out on our page. He had 2 touchdowns. Damari Austin, 2 touchdowns. One was like 20 plus yard, I think almost a 40-yarder. He spoke well about him. We wasn't sure if he was going to be the number 3 guy because we heard about Sean Jackson and how he's been contributing. It looks like Damari Austin could see some playing time. He could be part of the rotation. Thoughts on that, B?
I'm scared to death for everybody we got to play, because I don't think Sean Jackson is going to be sitting on the bench either. We are going to have an outrageous running back room. We've had very good running back rooms. We were actually running down some. I think it was I think we were all talking. I can't remember. We were talking about the year that Javon Robinson got kicked off the team. It would have been Javon Robinson 1, Kerryon Johnson 2, and Cam Petway wouldn't have even been in the running back room. He would have been a fullback.
H-back, yeah.
We had 3 dudes, unbelievable college running backs. Javon Robinson was one of the best running backs I thought we had in the Gus era.
He got kicked off the team, didn't he, for something stupid?
False rape allegations and the person recanted. But that running back, that was probably the best running back room of the Gus era. Prior to that, before and after, we had 1 really good running back each year. 1. Trey Mason was the good running back that year. Cam Artis-Payne was the good running back that year. 2015, Javon Robinson. Kerryon had come in, but he wasn't quite ready for prime time yet. We had 1 good running back, and now we've got at least 2. At least 2. Tank talking to the media during SEC Media Days, it really let you know he is a leader on this team. The tape that we saw of Tank working out with Damari, he is a leader. Tank is a leader, and he is setting the tone as not only the best running back, but as the best player on offense. I don't think anybody's going to dispute that. Maybe we got some time to see if somebody just steps way up at wide receiver, but I think all of this competition talk, and you hear us talking about the difference between Harsin and the Gus regime and how things are different in competition and strength and conditioning. I think the stuff is getting through. I think it's getting through because you have a guy who, in keeping in mind, when people come in highly touted, they are used to just getting what they want most of the time. It's not that some guys don't come in ready to work, ready to contribute, ready to play up to the standard that their coach is setting before them. But I also know as recently as last season, some people came in here just expecting to be shown the red carpet and walk into some playing time because they thought that they were that good. And when it didn't work out like that, they had a problem with it. I don't think that's going to be a problem going forward anymore. For anybody who gets recruited here, I think they're going to know if I want my opportunity, I'm going to have to work, and I'm going to have to outwork other people for it. What Damari Alston has been able to do based on scrimmages, and he's been the player, either the playmaker or the offensive player of the day in camp at least once, I want to say. I remember seeing his name up there once. The standard is set, and I'm excited to see not only him, but also Camden Brown. Like we're hearing two dynamic players on offense out of the gate. We didn't pick Camden Brown up until like when? It was like a couple weeks before signing day.
What was the receiver we were in after that we missed out on?
It was the guy who ended up going to Michigan, Darius Clemens.
Yeah, that was the kid.
That was the one. We thought that was the one, right? He came from Oregon. Harsin, of course, recruited the area, and he had been in on him early for a long time, and it didn't work out. Michigan came in, swooped in. It was Michigan, Miami, and yeah. So that didn't work out, and so we got Camden Brown. And from everything we saw, we was like, okay, tall kid. We like the measurables. Good. Let's see what he can do. But we didn't hear a lot about Camden
Most
Brown.
people went crazy because we were too busy reeling from Darius Clemens going to Michigan.
Right. From losing on a 4 or 5 star guy. And then we end up with a 3-star guy. So people aren't paying as close attention. Man, those stars going to get us in trouble.
He's going to be a bust. The idea with Alston, I will say, I don't think that what Harsin said about Alston is going to mean a lot in terms of his playing time this year, unless there are injuries. Personally, this coach has old school vibes to me. I think if they can save the year of eligibility, they will. But the opportunities that he got in this scrimmage have more to do with the fact that you're not. Tank is battle tested. There's nothing that you have to learn about Tank. So you take this opportunity to start to learn about some of the other guys in some highly competitive situations against the 1s and the 2s, right? If that makes sense. Like there's no reason to risk Tank out there. He's got nothing to prove. Jarquez is coming off an injury. And so maybe I haven't heard a lot about how they're treating that with him coming back, but I got to assume that they're watching it. I heard he's healthy. But you're keeping your 1s and your 2s healthy. Running back, you take a lot of punishment at running back, right? So you do have to manage hits in practice. You got to take hits in practice, but you have to manage it. And if you have a young guy, if he's been working hard all summer, you reward him in camp with some carries. But again, unless there are injuries, I don't think that it means he's going to be the number 3 back this season if they can help it. Ideally, I think the staff would like to save his year of eligibility, or, if we do see him, it will be because you can play him in up to 4 games and still save that red shirt. Right. So if we see him, the rules will allow for that. So you'll reward him with that, but you're going to save the eligibility if you can.
Let's pick back up with this, guys. We need you to do us a favor. Share this video if you're on social media, guys. Let people join in on this conversation. If you're enjoying the content, help others find this content. Smash the like button. Don't be out there just lurking. And if you're new to the channel, please hit subscribe. Hit that notification bell. It helps us out a ton, guys. Let's pause to acknowledge the sponsors of the War Report.
This edition of the War Report is made possible by our generous sponsors. AuburnSports.com. For news and notes on all things Auburn Sports, head over to AuburnSports.com. Athletic Architects. For young athletes looking to secure their financial futures, let Athletic Architects help you start to build your financial house. Head over to BuildTheHouse.com. And our giveaway sponsor, GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. If you want the best in the business at restaurant logistics, check out our friends at GWT2Energy.com.
Yeah, make sure that you lock in with all of our sponsors. We appreciate them for keeping the War Rapport financially afloat, but you all can help as well by becoming on board as members of the War Rapport. Supporter level will get you a few things, access to a few things, including being able to get into the drawing for free ticket giveaways. If you guys didn't know, we will be giving away tickets to the first game, which is Mercer. All home games this season, but the first one coming up is Mercer's. You have to be a member to be a part of that drawing. In addition, you'll get some additional things if you want to be a patron of the War Rapport. You get in things like insider chats, and then you get those exclusive drops that we'll be doing, particularly watch the film segments as we get into the season. If you missed it earlier today, we announced we are going to be having an interview with Josh Pate dropping tomorrow from 247 The Late Kick. Make sure that you all lock in with us over there. And that's going to be coming up again tomorrow. Our drawing today, hashtag get your weight up in the comments if you want to be able to enter this. Sponsored by GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. We're giving away a War Rapport mug. Make sure that you lock in with us to be able to get that. Again, you have to be present when we do the drawing in order to be able to receive that. We are the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report on all of your podcast platforms. The podcast is going to be doing some unique things coming up here during the season. Man, we have so much, man, when I say so much content ready for you guys. If you were here with us last year, man, we're turning it up to another level. We try to exceed what we did the previous season. So next year, or this coming up season, you definitely will be getting more from the War Report. That includes more content drops on podcasts. So you make sure that you lock in with us over there. And then, listen, if your anxiety is just super high right now about all of the things that are going on with this QB competition, and maybe you just are like, oh my God, TJ Finley is going to make me, just drive off a cliff. I don't know what's going on in your mind. I have a remedy for you. Holler at our folks over at the Rogue Shop. Maybe you can get yourself a little calm.
This episode of the War Report is brought to you in part by Rogue Shop. Looking to reduce stress or improve your quality of sleep? Rogue Shop has you covered with a wide range of premium products, including gummies, bath salts, and oils. Go to rogueshop.com and use code RAPPORT when you check out. That way, they know we sent you. All right?
Definitely shout out to Rogue Shop. Definitely being one of our supporters of the War Rapport. Guys, let's get back into it. Let's continue. I'm gonna do a little something different. We're gonna get to the second segment after we draw, because we still got some things to discuss with the first scrimmage. You mentioned Camden Brown, B. Will. Mm-hmm. It looks like this guy could potentially end up in the rotation. We have consistently heard good things about him since fall camp, but it actually started over the summer when he got there at Auburn. Mm-hmm. And Finley connected with, Harsin has, he prays on him. We've been hearing good things. It looks like this guy may be a factor in the passing game. Thoughts on that?
I hope he is. Mike and I talked about this a little bit before we got on the live, and I think it's a signal to other talented receivers that you can come to Auburn, play, contribute, and do something dynamic. It's not something that you're going to see often at Auburn, but a lot of it does come down to how the offensive line plays, how the quarterback plays, right? Like, you can be burning guys all day, but if the quarterback's overthrowing you, underthrowing you, blah, 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 it's going to be difficult. The thing I like about Camden Brown that I've seen is his ability to attack the football. Like, he can, his ability to just make contested catches is something that I loved about Seth Williams, right? His ability to make contested catches. I dare say he's got a little bit of that in him. And now he's got a coach, I think, that will allow him to actually improve and not just be a one-trick pony who's a go route jump ball guy, right? Like, he's going to be able to put the other portions of his athleticism on display because we have a coaching staff that can bring that out of him. It's going to allow him to run the entirety of the route tree. It's going to be able to take advantage of his athleticism on a more consistent basis. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Camden Brown develops into. So, definitely put me on board the Camden Brown hype train as well. I'm liking what I'm hearing and seeing out of that young man.
Let's get into this clip that Harsin has talking about Robbie Ashford. He also singled out Robbie Ashford as well when he met with media to discuss the scrimmage. Let's kind of hear what Harsin had to say regarding Robbie.
That's the give and take, man. This is the thing that sucks about being the head coach is you want to protect your quarterback, and then you're not getting sacks. And if he's a guy that can go, he's telling you he can break every tackle, right? I've had guys like that. So that's, I think, the competitive juices in both guys on the edges and the quarterback, you want to see that. But Robbie's a guy when he takes off, he can go. He's shown that. He's got exceptional speed. Our edges, they will get around and they can bend the corner. And, that's the give and take in both. So they all know. Here's the one thing. Our guys know. They know they kind of run by and they're going to razz each other a little bit. But at the end of the day, if the quarterback takes off and the rest of the guys get work, and we thought it was a sack, but the other guys get a chance to go tag off on him and everybody's working to try to catch him, then we're all getting better that way. But it's going to come a point now we're live. That's the one thing for the quarterbacks. You got to understand that. And so we try to go back and make sure they understand, like, that's going to be a hit, that's going to be a sack, that's going to be this, and not just say that because they're wearing the orange jersey that they're going to be able to get away from that in a real game.
I talk about, for this head coach, this system, we know Harsin has dealt with mobile QBs in the past during his time at Boise. I'm not sure if he had a mobile one when he was an OC at Texas, but he's dealt with mobile QBs. But evaluating a guy who is a mobile guy who can do a lot with his athleticism, how tough of a job is it to evaluate a Robbie Ashford as compared to a TJ Finley or a Zach Calzada?
I think the evaluation of them is difficult because of the unknown factor of, like he said, would he have actually broken away in that instance? What you can evaluate them on fairly is, did he go through his progressions? What was the accuracy of that pass? If he's moving while he's throwing, is his throwing motion right? Like, you can look at decision making and when to run, right? Like, just because you can run doesn't mean that was the right time to run. And so those are the things that you can definitely evaluate. It does make your evaluation different than it would be for a person who would not have had an opportunity to get away from that. So it just behooves Robbie to just be patient, and when he gets his opportunities, to go and show that he's a playmaker out there. It's like, yeah, you know what? Right now, I might not have the same grasp of the offense that TJ does, but he can't make the same plays I can. So that makes me the kind of player that you want. I'm a gamer, right? And that's what ultimately is going to matter, is who's the gamer. But the evaluative process is going to be difficult because he does have that aspect to his game that he can always just lean on. He can always lean on his athleticism to make a play that other people won't have the opportunity to. But again, the decision making of when to run and what throws he's making or what reads he's making are things that you can absolutely evaluate.
Mike G, I got a question for you, and this comes from Ed Darby. Thanks for watching with us, Ed. I know it's football season because you starting to talk to us.
Yeah.
He asked, if you're Robbie Ash, would you request to the coaches that you go live in scrimmages?
You might, but they're going to say no.
Yeah, there's even if you requested it, I'd be like, no.
It's
not
so
doesn't hurt to ask. But
a competitor. Robbie's a competitor, so certainly, I'm sure that's crossed his mind that if you can go live, that gives him a competitive advantage, right?
Right.
We've heard from the defensive players that chasing him is a problem, and it's difficult. But to your point about his comments, about how it's hard to evaluate, would that have been a sack or would that guy have gotten away? That's the same thing we heard Chiswick say about Cam in his spring here. He'd start to run and they say, hey, like, would that have been a 5-yard gain or an 80-yard gain? We don't know. It's really difficult to evaluate. So that's the same across the board. I think when you have a quarterback that can run and create plays with his legs, we're just going to have to see it in game when he gets a chance. And I think that he may get that chance in the first 2 games.
Yeah.
Right. So when game time comes against Mercer, what we hope is, again, dissimilar from last year, that by halftime, maybe like second drive in the third quarter, somebody else is going in the game so we can see what they have when people are actually trying to tackle them. That's what I hope. And if he shows out enough in those moments, it will make the coaches more comfortable about going to him if someone gets injured or there's poor play in front of you. So I have no doubt that Robbie is going to get opportunity on the field to showcase that he is a quarterback. He is a quarterback that possesses athleticism. That's how he wants to be seen, not an athlete at quarterback. So when he gets his chance in these first 2 games, your chances sometimes in this thing that we call college football can be so minimal, right? One guy may get 50 chances to go out there and be mediocre, and you may only get 1 chance to prove that you can be great. And the message to these athletes is, when your opportunity arises, be prepared to show them that you can be great, because there's no guarantee. There's no tomorrow. Tomorrow is not guaranteed in terms of opportunities on the field, because everybody else wants that spot too. And there's only one starting quarterback. So we'll see how it is. But, ultimately, Robbie brings something different to the table that the other guys just don't have. And he may get a chance to use those talents in games. And I think that if we get a chance to see it this season, fans might be really, really excited about the future at quarterback, knowing if whoever starts plays well, assuming that it's not Robbie, because he could, for all we know, he could pull the job out in camp, right? That if our starter goes down, the season doesn't go down. We're not screwed. Wouldn't it be nice to just be able to trust that, hey, listen, these guys there's still a capable guy on the bench who can come in and creates different problems for the defense. Now, all the tape that you had on Auburn goes out the window when Robbie goes in the game. If TJ and Zach are the start and Robbie is the backup, and one of them can't play and he goes in, everything you thought about our offense goes to hell with him at quarterback, because he'll make you play 11 on 11. And 11 on 11, I like Robbie Ashford versus anybody. So, just my thought.
Another name that I've been hearing a lot in this past week has been Keontae Scott, who we also have a building rapport with. Very, very good guy, very confident, and we're starting to see that confidence on full display. Well, we're not seeing it with our own eyes, but we're hearing a lot of good things about him in the practices. Harsin actually pointed him out in the scrimmage as well. Will, talk about Keontae Scott, and we know Harsin has been really pleased with the DBs, and we'll be previewing them within the next week or so. But talk about some of the newcomers that Harsin has really been speaking highly of, starting with Keontae Scott.
Well, it was going to be questionable losing a starter like Roger McCreary, who was just a lockdown corner. Like, that was going to be something on everybody's mind. Knowing that we're going to lose Smoke, who, for some deficiencies he had in coverage, he still had a lot of strengths and the benefit of experience. So cornerback was going to be a worry for me. No matter who we got in here, we could have gotten 5-star back. And I know Osbury is supposed to be really good, so I'm looking forward to him eventually developing as well. But there's something that Roger McCreary had that you don't just see year one usually. And that's why the benefit of a JUCO incoming kind of helps to solve that problem. So I don't have to teach you how to read this quarterback in his eyes. And we're not looking for keys and things that are basic for first or second year players. You already know how to play. You're the number one cornerback coming out of JUCO for a reason. And if you went JUCO, more than likely it was something like grades. It had nothing to do with your ability to play football. So when you get the best one, you know you got a guy who can contribute immediately. So Keontae Scott coming in and being described as a ball hawk and a baller does not surprise me at all. What I wonder, and I don't want to fall into this habit of comparing every new player that fills a really good player spot. Is he as good as that guy? He could be good or even better in different ways. I just want to know, can he react correctly? Can he not jump things, anticipate well, but not over-anticipate, get yourself out of position, be physical enough at the point of attack to change a wide receiver's routes? Roger McCreary read the quarterback so wonderfully, man. He was really good at that. He had a lot of strength, and that's why he went top of the second round. Keontae Scott, all reports, and again, it's scrimmages, and I'm not sure how let's say extravagant the passing game is in scrimmages. So we have to take that with a bit of a grain of salt as well. But you've got to be glad. We've got to be happy that we have talent filling in for talented people when they leave. That's a win. That's recruitment. That's identifying the talent. That's recruiting them, getting them here. And if you can prepare them to contribute immediately, understanding your system and what you want to do on defense, that's development. So we seem to have hit a home run as far as what we know based on how he's performed in camp so far. And I hope we continue to hit home runs. I know back there at safety from Iowa State, this is Craig McDonald.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he had a scoop and score, but he wasn't the one that caused the fumble. He was in the right spot at the right time. That was a linebacker that did that. Who was that?
More on that later.
Yeah. So we had a linebacker creating a turnover. Linebacker has by far been the biggest question mark for me, because we had one great linebacker that played a lot last year, one good one, and the rest was kind of like, I don't really know what we have, because we took that one great one out, and then it was a huge question mark on what that group was like. We seem to have three levels contributing, and a lot of it is newcomers. We've heard Marcus Bragg's name. We've heard I can't remember the guy from Memphis, but Morris. We're hearing the people that they identified within the last 9 months to come here and contribute are in camp contributing immediately. That is a win. That's, again, identifying, recruiting, and development. So I'm happy with those, not only Keontae Scott, but all the names I'm hearing coming out of this scrimmage and camp so far.
And then it looks like, in addition to like Keontae Scott, Harsin has heaped a lot of praise over the returning guys. Nehemiah Pritchett. We continue to hear his name a lot. Simpson. One name we've heard a lot about has been Donovan Kaufman and his leadership acumen. So to me, it appears that they like those guys starting across the board. But what I'm excited about is we're hearing a lot of names about guys who can come in behind them. And this looks like an incredibly deep group. I mean, you got DJ James, you got so many guys back there. I mean, again, you're taking a wait and see approach, but you've been really excited about. Let's just talk about the cornerbacks for one. Of course, there's always safeties, but it looks like we got some guys at cornerback this year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Jalen Simpson is a solid guy. Nehemiah Pritchett's been a solid guy for us for years. But then you add DJ James and Keontae Scott to that room. And
Jonathan Harris says rim.
Yeah, I would say we haven't even talked about the guys who we haven't really seen play yet. So you're gonna have. I mean, gosh, man, I can. Talent is in abundance on the defensive side of this fall. Like, we've already talked a bit about the defensive line. We'll get into cornerbacks and safeties at some point in time. We're supposed to be talking linebackers today, if we get an opportunity to get into that. But man, like, we just got guys, man, just all over the field. And the cornerback position is not any different. I think that, again, barring injury, you have the same luxury at cornerback, which is a guy's not playing well, get somebody else in there. All right, you know what? You don't have it today. Somebody else is going to come in and play, and I don't see a significant drop-off coming from that type of changes happening. Or you play a lot of cloud coverage on the back end where you're going to have 5-6 DBs on the field, and you don't have as many issues because you can interchange people. What we saw in the Bama game last year, let's be clear about what we looked at there. Not only was the defensive line tired, but Roger McCrary was exhausted in that game. Yeah. He was playing man coverage. They were just like, wherever this guy goes, you're locking him up the entire game. And he ran out of gas. Late in that game, he had to come out for a couple of plays because he was cramping up. And he came back in, played admirably, but he was out of gas. But the problem was we didn't have anybody to spell him.
Right.
Or we couldn't mix up the coverages in a way to be able to give him relief from not having to just play man the entire game. I don't know that we're going to be in that same situation in the defensive backfield this year.
Yeah.
And this is a good point that Darby benches here. With having this many guys that the coaching staff likes, what kind of looks should we expect to see at certain times, depending on our opponent and the situation? Does this give us the flexibility to really do some cool stuff on the back end?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, again, I think we can be multiple in our defense. We've talked about the multiple offense. We can be multiple in our defense as well because we have enough talent to be able to play defenses based upon who we're going up against. So I can see us going into something like that. I mean, that's essentially what we did that LSU game to slow down the Joe Burrow offense. Was like, all right, cool. Y'all want to hit a bunch of these slants? We're just going to throw guys in the middle of the slant pattern. Good luck going over the top. We've got enough speed to catch that. And if you hold on to the ball long enough, somebody's getting to you.
DB and Marlon Davis are going to eat you up. Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think we're in that type of situation again this year because we have enough talent on the back end. Not to me. I mean, we've already talked about the talent on the front end, but we do have enough talent on the back end to be able to cover up for mistakes up front.
Indeed. 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 I think we're at that time, guys. I think we're at that time where we're about to draw. And just in case, guys, if you're wondering what we are drawing for a mug courtesy of GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. Shout out to Walt Taylor, owner of that business, who's supporting this. Drop the hashtag there, guys, in the comments to enter to win so you can win your mug. And guys, we are about to do just that.
Well, maybe. Hold on. For some reason, my thing. Oh, you know what? I need to get my spelling up because I spelled it wrong in the thing. Now I've got my entries in there. So I'll give you guys a few more minutes than what I had before because I can't believe that there's only 20 people who have put the hashtag this entire time. So I'll give you a couple of more seconds than I normally do.
I've definitely seen more.
Yeah, I've definitely hit that button quick on y'all. So hashtag get your weight up in the comments. I'll give you a few minutes here, a few seconds to get it in case you want to be able to get in on the drawing. And we'll see who we're going to do. I ain't going to wait too long because, you know, somebody got to win. And it doesn't matter how many people are in the entry. All right, that's enough. 40. That's cool. All right, mug sponsored by GWT2 Energy Consulting.
You forgot,
Services.
and then you rushing everybody else.
I'm not rushing them. I'm just moving on with the show. Ed Darby is the winner.
Look at that.
What's up? I know he's here. He just commented a minute ago, but Ed, just say what's up in the comments, and we will get that mug out to you, man. We appreciate you being here. Courtesy of GWT2 Energy Consulting Services, the mug giveaway today. Appreciate you, Ed, for all the things that you do in the comment section, keeping us on our P's and Q's when it comes to the X's and O's.
Yes. And if you feel away, if you feel away about your name not being drawn, we need you to chill.
Treat your boys. Chill Boys underwear is designed for maximum comfort with enough space to keep you cool, calm, and comfortable. Chill Boys underwear will help you keep the boys close, not too close. When the game is on the line, you won't break a sweat with Chill Boys underwear. Whether it's left boy, right boy, or both boys, Chill Boys provides your boys comfort like you never felt. Maximize your chill with Chill Boys.
Yes, guys, listen, let's move on to the second segment. We definitely want to take a look at the next position group. We talked about the defensive line last week, and now as we're moving to the next level, we want to talk about linebackers. This has been kind of, I won't necessarily say an afterthought. B. Will, you've mentioned your curiosity about this position group and how it's going to look next season. Ike, you've done the same, especially with who we're losing. Let's take a look to see who we're losing, who's coming in, who we're bringing back. Without further ado, let's show you our current linebacker situation. So returning is Owen Papo, Sammy Cohen, Cam Riley, Desmond Tisdall, Wesley Steiner, Joko Willis, Cameron Brown, Jake Levant, Barton Lester. And I know many people are saying, I thought Joko Willis has been moved to the edge rush position, but according to the Auburn website, he's still listed as a linebacker, correct, Ike?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why he's still listed on this list and was not on the other list. Auburn,
but I do think he is working with the edge guys, just to be clear, but he is still listed as a linebacker.
It's not official yet, but until then, we're just listing him as a linebacker for now. Coming in, newcomers, Eugene Asante, the North Carolina transfer, Robert Woodyard, the kid who committed to Auburn, was thought to go to Bama, but Auburn was able to get him. Powell Gordon out of Auburn High School, Jonathan LeGrand are some of the new guys. Going out, of course, Jacoby McClain, one of the highest producers at that position over the past 2 seasons. He's in the NFL now. Chandler Wooten has graduated, Russ Logan, and Brooks Walton. Guys, there's a big void here. Big void at this position. We've been hearing some good things about certain guys. Of course, they're expecting Owen Papo, who's back and who's healthy, to definitely be one of the contributors. But I've been hearing a lot of good things about Cam Riley. Of course, coach has talked about Eugene Asante, who wasn't involved a lot in spring due to personal family issues, lost his father. Condolences to him and his family. But he's made some good comments. What has been your assessment so far, B. Will, as it pertains to this linebacker group and what you've been hearing?
I mean, we're hearing good things about these guys. We're hearing, I believe it was Cam Riley that put on quite a bit of weight. So to fill in his 6'5" frame, he's added about 20 pounds of muscle. And I mean, you're going to need that playing linebacker, obviously. But we have not had that type of linebacker as far as physique in a very long time. Jacoby McClain was incredibly productive, an outstanding tackler, outstanding instincts. But the reason he went undrafted was because he's undersized for that position as far as the NFL goes. KJ Britt, also, he got drafted very late. He was a prototypical leader, defensive QB as far as being that middle linebacker. I mean, molded in the image of the guy who recruited him. You know, T. Will was a great undersized linebacker, so it's no question, no wonder that we got 2 who were great and were also considered undersized for the pros. Cam Riley would be the first one in a very long time that had the size of a prototypical, not only great college, but NFL middle linebacker. So, yeah, I'm incredibly excited and intrigued to see if these guys have what both of those guys had. And again, it's reading, diagnosis, and then attacking with ferocity. We have a good mix of all that. Like we heard Joko Willis was not afraid to hit a guy. We saw that on special teams in the LSU game. He's not afraid to hit a guy. Can you read and diagnose? Do you have the instincts that make a great linebacker? We know that Jacoby McClain had that. I don't think we'll know that for these guys until they get on the field. I don't know how much of what we're running in scrimmages is intentionally created to deceive the linebackers with motion in the backfield or, isolating a guy and passing plays. I remember going to Florida in 2019 and seeing Dan Mullen's offense just chew us up. Our defense held its own for a very long time. But the big plays that they got, while the game was still really close, the big plays they got, they isolated our linebackers. How much have we improved in being able to cover guys from the linebacker position? We know Papo is that speedy type of guy, but that doesn't mean that your coverage skills are great. You got DBs that are speedy, but their coverage skills aren't great. Do we have a complete linebacker at that position? I don't know, and we won't know. Similar to the QB, it's a developmental position the same way that offensive line and quarterback is. You have to see everything that there is to be thrown at you before you can log it. Like, okay, I'll know that when I see it again. And then you can start to be a better player mentally. I'm hoping that these guys are that. I really do. And I don't think it's as simple as, oh, look at the frame, look at the size. Yeah, but either sometimes you got it or you don't. You have it or you don't. We won't know until we're out of camp and on the field, and we're playing some people who are intentionally just trying to deceive us and get you on an island to make you look silly. Hopefully, we have those guys who can take advantage of every opportunity given and look the part not only in camp, but and on Saturdays as well coming up this fall. But we'll see. I'm still incredibly excited for the transformation of not only them physically, but Wesley Steiner stepping in and these guys still being willing to be special teams contributors, because that's a part of it. That's a part of the buy-in that these coaches want, and these guys are doing it. So yeah, I'm incredibly excited about them.
Before we continue on with the conversation about linebackers, got a comment here or a question by Mr. Tyrone. Appreciate the super chat, sir. He says, maybe this is wishful thinking and a little sunshine pump, but I feel like if everyone stays healthy, we can win more than the 6 or 7 games that everyone says we can win. What do you guys think?
That's not a hot take.
No,
that's very normal. Like, you're muted. Mike, you're muted.
Yeah, I was saying that's not a super hot take to me either. I think that's we have the talent to be able to do that. And if anybody who disagrees with that, I just don't know what you're seeing. So yeah, 6 or 7 wins with a healthy team would be underachieving, in my opinion.
I mean, you almost did it last year, but we were not healthy down the stretch of the season. So in year 2, if you do stay healthy, there's no reason to think that you can't achieve that for sure. So yeah, that's how we feel with this team. Getting back to the linebacker group, Harsin addressed the linebackers a little bit in this scrimmage yesterday, and definitely want to hear you guys' thoughts in terms of what he had to say in terms of the linebackers.
Like I talked about Steiner, I think he's really stood out. I think Cam Riley is starting to really come into his own as far as being a long, athletic, physical guy that knows what he's doing. And those guys, all 3 of those guys I mentioned, Owen being included, right? Students of the game. Eugene Asante. You know, Eugene missed a lot of spring when his father passed away, and so he's catching up right now. And I think he's going to be a really good player for us. Robert Woodyard tonight. All right, he made some plays. Now, there was a couple. One, he got pushed back, and you kind of think he's just going to kind of react like a freshman and all that. He kind of got pushed back and like, what's going on? And the very next play, he ripped right through whoever tried to block him and made the tackle. Like, he got upset, and it was like, it's time to play. And you could see that guy really turn it on, that. But I also think that's part of like Christian, Coach Robinson's mentality in that group, right? Those guys are going to know what to do. And then we want to play physical. So I think I've been really impressed with our linebackers.
Harsin speaking very highly of that group. He mentioned we didn't get to hear a lot of it in that clip that we played, but Wesley Steiner apparently had a good scrimmage. It's reported that he was the one who caused that fumble that led to the Craig McDonald scoop and score. So he mentions quite a few guys. Corses Papo, you got Steiner, you got Cam Riley, but you also have Eugene Asante, and you got the newcomer. And so you like the options that Christian Robinson, Jeff Schmedding, and the coaching staff has at their disposal with linebackers. And it looks like it could potentially be a committee approach. But what is your thoughts on that, Mike?
You know what? I think that the linebacker group has a chance to do something. They have a chance to be a part of a really special defense. Owen Papo stays healthy this year. I think that this has to be a breakout year for him. But outside of him, you're looking for other guys to contribute. Right. And with his nasties, I expect this D-line to be these guys might have a chance to fly around and really, really make some plays. Can we pull the list back up? The linebackers? For sure. So, at linebacker, when guys get to the second level, you need guys who can run. You need guys who are assignment sound, who hit the right gaps, who do all those things that, help kind of really reinforce the back end of your defense. And I am looking at Cam Riley there. I think there's some young guys here. He mentioned Asante during that press conference as well too. This we're hoping is a good group of guys. I'm not sure they're the strength of the team, but I think it's a pretty solid list of linebackers. You're looking for who's going to step up outside of Owen, who it's kind of an expectation that he's going to be a guy. He's a guy on preseason lists, but like who else here is going to step up? I'm keeping an eye on Wesley Steiner, certainly. I think that he's a guy. Obviously, Cam Riley showed flashes. Joko Willis had some big hits last year. This is going to be an interesting group to watch, I think, this year. I've got more questions about this group than I do any other group on defense as a whole. Owen should be a star. And when you have one guy who can run and chase guys down, that's always a great thing. But, this is a good chance for somebody else to step up and just become a star. in this defense, playing with other capable guys. That's a great thing about defense, man. When the guy next to you is a monster, right, you have a chance to really do something special and step up. Like everybody's watching Derek Hall this season, but quietly, Eku Leota may have a monster season playing next to him. So right. Owen has the type of season that we expect him to have. I expect that one of these other guys are going to step up. If I had to put money on it, I would maybe say Steiner or Riley. Definitely, I'm looking forward to have a breakout season. So this is it's going to be an interesting group, I think, to watch coming in. And then the new guys, what he said about Woodyard, I think that was an interesting evaluation where he got beat and then he beat somebody the next play. And having young guys that can do that kind of stuff is good. I mean, it's a good sign. It's like, hey, man, he immediately learned from the thing that happened to him on that play and came back and forgot it and didn't get down on himself and made a play and moved a guy on the next round. Development is back. I like what I'm hearing about Christian Robinson. I've been hearing a lot of really good things about, how he's working with this group and teaching them how to do the things that they want them to do, and they seem to be taking to him really, really well. So develop this group because you got to get some guys in off the recruiting trail. And I think, if Owen and Cam and Steiner have a big season, it's going to help them a lot in recruiting. It's going to help Coach Robinson go out there and be able to pitch something to these guys coming in about why they should come to Auburn to play linebacker. So, Zacoby McClain practically led the NCAA in tackles the last couple seasons. That was a gift and a curse in some ways because of the amount of tackles he was having to make. But ultimately, I like this group. I think there's talent here. I'm just waiting to see how they develop.
Ike, there's we talked about the opportunity for the DBs to produce as a result of what happens with the D-line, but you have to kind of say the same thing with this group as well, especially depending on what type of alignment they're in. If you got guys like Jason Jones taking up two guys, it's difficult for the opposition's O-line to get to the next level, which means you have great opportunities for some of these guys to play downhill. Who are you liking, man, out of this group who has an opportunity should Auburn's D-line play up to the potential we know it can? Who do you like to be able to take advantage of those opportunities and actually take the next step in this group?
I mean, I like the fact that all of these guys can run. Like their speed at all of them. The thing that I've always questioned about, I'll answer the question in the affirmative first before I get into my questions. Cam Riley is the guy that I really think is going to be a stud in this group. He's got size and speed and has been a very instinctive player. The other person that I think we have to have step up is going to be Wesley Steiner, though. Like he's got to be whoever's going to be the middle linebacker right now. It seems like he is. He's by all accounts a really intelligent player. I think Mike G was talking about this last time. The issue that you're going to have with Wesley Steiner is, can he get out of his head and start just playing ball, right? Like, is he going to stop overanalyzing situations because, he sees all the scenarios out and just go make a play? Because he's got all the athleticism to be able to do that. But the guy that is on this list that everybody is super excited about that I'm still having questions about is Owen Papo, because he's got all the physical tools, but is his tackling skill going to be there the way that it needs to be? Because he misses quite a few tackles when it's like outside of his frame. And then the other question is whether or not his hips are going to be flexible enough to be in coverage, because if he's not going to be playing middle linebacker, that means he's going to have to be in coverage quite a bit. So he doesn't need to be a liability in that way. But he's got all the physical tools to be able to do it. I am expecting this coaching staff to put our athletes in positions to make plays this year. To your point, Jason Jones being a guy in the middle who can garner activity. And we've already talked about the rest of that defensive line. That means the linebacker should have freedom to play. It's just about making the right calls at the right time as far as when to shoot the gap, when to stay back, all that. But if we're going to be aggressive and have lockdown DBs and a fearsome front, that means our linebackers can just do what they want to. They get to roam around and just knock people around. And we definitely have a group of guys that can do that.
How do we feel about this group? I mean, what do we expect to see from this group, I should say, as it pertains to pass defense. That's been kind of over the past few years. If you want to point out one weakness of this group, they can play downhill, they can play the run, they can even run sideline to sideline, but sometimes they have a tendency in the past to get a little lost when it comes to pass defense. What are you expecting to see in year 2 under this, or year 1 under Jeff Schmedding, but year 2 under this coaching staff?
I mean, I think you're just going to see aggressiveness. Like, understanding where you're weak means that I can't let my linebackers on an island if they're not going to be great in coverage, which means you need to be putting stuff out there where maybe you're only going to have 2 linebackers on the field, right? You'll put an additional DB out there who's better in coverage but can also play in the box, right? Or you have, if you're going to be playing a team like a Mississippi State, right, where you're going to you might need 4 down rushers, right? So maybe we don't do a 3-3-5. Maybe we're going to do some sort of 4 down lineman situation, or we're going to always rush 4, but again, we'll have more DBs in that situation and less linebackers. So there's a lot of opportunities there, but it's just understanding what the strengths and weaknesses of your team are and making sure that offensive coach can exploit them. From a pass protection, not pass protection, but from a pass defense standpoint, I don't know what we have in any of these guys because we haven't seen enough snaps from them. Eugene Asante probably is the only the true unknown here because he's the newer one in the group. But I'm hoping that I don't know how much better a guy can get with hip flexibility, and I'm speaking specifically of Owen Papo, but Cam Riley looks the part of a guy who can do it all in this defense. And so I'm hoping that he has an amazing season.
Definitely. Any other thoughts, Mike? Be Will on this particular position group. I know we talked kind of like who we like, concerns and whatnot. Any other thoughts before we move on?
No, I like where this defense is at as a whole. I think linebacker is going to be another great facet of what is going to be a really good defense this year. So they're going to make waves. I think you're going to see guys step up. It seems like, we have guys step up on defense every single year. They went out and brought some new kids in, and, I'm just looking forward to it. I have less questions, even though there are question marks. I have less questions about how these guys are going to do. It's just more about who's going to step up. But I feel like one of those guys is going to step up. To Ike's point about Papo, though, same thing. He did have some things there that he needed to improve in his game to be more assignment sound and do his job a little better. So hopefully he takes that step because they're going to look to him to be the leader of that group.
Right.
Well, prior to scrimmage, there was some news this past weekend. Auburn received a new commit. 3-star athlete J.C. Hart actually commits to Auburn. Auburn snagged someone out of their backyard. So just to give you a little bit of information on this kid here, he's a 3-star athlete, recruited to play cornerback out of Lochapoka, Alabama. And from reading auburnsports.com, he's the first kid from there since Montavis Pitts to play at Auburn that they've signed. So a little throwback there for some of you guys who remember. 6'2", 180 pounds. Out of the 2023 class, he chose Auburn over Mississippi State, Central Florida, and Vanderbilt. One of the things that was noted about this kid is during Auburn's elite camp this past June, he ran a 4.37 40. So he has amazing speed, and Auburn actually snagged another guy out of its own backyard. He's the 4th Alabama commit in the 2023 class, joining Braden Joyner, Jeremiah Cobb, and Carmelo English. Mike G, I saw you post something about the importance of being able to get the guys out of your own backyard. This has been kind of a bugaboo in several years with Auburn, not being able to get guys who are in their own backyard. So talk about how important this is just in terms of beginning to lay the groundwork for starting to compete for your state.
Yeah, listen, a lot of the Power 5 schools around us have been rating the state of Alabama for all talent not going to Alabama. So this is important. You have a guy, Lochapoka, We know a guy from Lochapoka. He might be the only guy I know from Lochapoka outside of Monte Pitts. But ultimately, this is a good pickup for this staff. This kid has talent. He's going to be another one of those kids that you get in your system and you develop. So he may not be a star year one, but he's going to join a defense that's going to produce, I think, a lot of stars over the next few years. So I like the pickup. I think, again, the focus has to be at home. Isaac and I got a chance to ask, Harsin, about recruiting. And he said, we have to focus on, ideally, if we could just get kids from Alabama and Georgia, we would. Obviously, we have to recruit outside, the region. But the focus is to be good recruiting here. Get kids here. Now, we're not in a place where we can get who we want from the state because of the guy on the other side of the state. But you can slowly start to turn that around by saying that by getting kids like this and then turning them into stars and being able to show these kids at home, that, there's probably another D1 prospect that's playing with JC Hart right now, but it's going to come out in a couple of years. And he comes here and he does well. And he calls JC and says, "Hey, man, what about this Harsin dude?" And he says, "Listen, man, it was the best decision I ever made. Love the staff, love Auburn. They helped me get to the league." And that's one of your best recruiting tools. Imagine, at the other school, having the Julio Joneses and these guys who are just household names on Sundays to be spokespersons for your program in terms of development. We've never really had that. Yeah. Right. I mean, we could only live on Cam so long. Right. Nick Marshall didn't make it in the league at quarterback. He was a talent. I think he's playing like the Canadian Football League or something right now. We just need more of those guys that can be spokespersons for our program in terms of, I chose Auburn and it was the right decision for me, rather than I went to Auburn and they didn't teach me nothing, but I made it anyway. Yeah. Which has been the story. So that's what I'm hoping. We have more homegrown success stories, and hopefully JC Hart is one of them.
Thoughts on this pickup, how this staff is just doing overall recruiting wise. I mean, it's a long way to signing day, and it looks like recruiting has begun to pick up. But your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just important to signal that, to Mike's point, we're going to be in our own backyard and recruiting. And I think it's also important to get a kid who this is where he grew up wanting to play football, right? There's no reason to not take a talented person that wants to be here. So you go and you offer that kid because it signals that I'm not overlooking the kids in my backyard just because they're not 5 stars. It's like, hey, are you talented? You're from right around the way. You want to be here. We want you here. Here's an offer. Come play football here. That's a win in everybody's book right there. And again, if he never pans out to be a star, that's going to be on him to get down here and work. But if he's talented and he does turn out to be a star, it's another signal to the kids that are behind him that Auburn they're looking for talented guys, and don't worry about what your star rating is. Go ball.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, definitely, guys, want to hear your thoughts about this latest commitment, this recruit, who you think may be next in terms of this recruiting class. We definitely want to hear from you guys in the comments, whether you're watching live or on replay. Let's get into some of the questions, comments that people have posted throughout our live today before we get out of here. Spicy Penguin says, Harsin demanding perfection on playbook and audibles gives Finley a huge advantage to the new guys. You need time to fully understand complex systems. Pretty much the point I articulated which gives us insight into how this race is going. But thoughts on this, gentlemen?
I've been thinking about this quite a minute. We've seen examples of quarterbacks that start the season. They may have been our best option. Think about Nick Marshall in 2013 when the cupboard was bare outside of a JUCO transfer we had coming in. Also with Cam, and even early with Stidham. When guys get there year one and they're getting accustomed to everything, it looks rough early. And then everybody kind of finds their footing, the play callers, the wide receivers, the offensive line, running backs. Everybody gets on the same page, and we find out what we can be mid-season and going on. There's this point where a coach has to have the foresight to see. It's kind of like a fork in the road. Like if I choose you, we'll go left. If I choose this other guy, we'll go right. But it's not just how good are you right now. It's how good can you be once we've invested 3 or 4 weeks of starting reps in you and 3 or 4 weeks of building rapport with the wide receivers, and the play caller is getting to know what you're good at. And you're building some of that chemistry with the offensive line. Now what can you be? Because you can't just go, oh, I made the wrong decision, let me go this way. No, now you're 200 miles out of the way because you chose the wrong guy, and you could have been not only 200 miles going back to your original starting point, but even another 200 miles of the other guy in the other direction. Like there is a gamesmanship that, well, not a gamesmanship. It's just you have to be able to forecast what a guy is going to be and not going to be. And what the reason I still bring that up for Finley is it seems by all accounts that Finley has the most command of the offense right now. It seems like he has the best leadership, demonstrating leadership better than the other guys right now, if reports are to be taken at face value. And is that the entirety of the position? No. Harsin himself has stated, yeah, it's not just who threw the best spiral play in and play out. It's everything. How are you on the sideline? When you weren't in the game, what were you looking like? Were you taking the game in, encouraging guys, giving them pointers? He made just as big a note of TJ's touchdown pass as he did the fact that he was able to correct guys on their routes because he's learning the offense in its entirety. There's a value to that up front, and I do think that's an advantage here. I wonder if that is an advantage. It's an advantage now. And you can say that's the reason why he won the job, if TJ wins the job, right? If I hand that ball to Robbie Ashford and he doesn't do all those things right now, but what does Robbie Ashford look like if I give him 6 weeks of investment between the 2 weeks before the first game and 4 weeks after that? How different is that? Because those are reps that Robbie Ashford hasn't had. Those are focused first team reps. To this point, we're talking about how TJ can improve so much because he hasn't gotten that. Yeah, neither is Rob, neither is Zach Calzada. So it's not just you can do it, and you need some time. It is a big decision. I wouldn't want to have to make that decision because if you ask me, I would bet on potential each and every time. I wouldn't bet on the guy who has the biggest grip on it right now. That's me. But I play probably a bit riskier than other people, but I think about him having the advantage that he has because he's been here longer. And he's also taken on the challenge of being more consistent and leadership and development. And that's not anything to talk down on either. That is a part of being a college athlete that Brian Harsin is now demanding of everybody. And the people who didn't want that challenge hit the door. TJ did accept that challenge. And that's to his credit. And my feeling is that all the quarterbacks in the room have accepted that challenge. Now the coaches have to decide, and hopefully they make the best decision. But I always will wonder, you make that decision, maybe our ceiling is a 6, but if you make a different decision, maybe early it looks rough, but we've got a higher ceiling later because the guy with the higher ceiling got more reps early. So he could be the guy we knew he could be later in the season. But that's just me speculating.
Okay. Before we get on to the next one, we got a challenge on our hands, gentlemen.
Yeah. Welcome to another Jazzy Challenge.
It says location challenge. Where am I for 100? Hint, if we would have beaten this team from this state the last time we played them, it would have been sweet.
He's in Florida then. He's talking about Miami beating us and we would have went to the Sweet 16.
That's like, yes. Ike, were you really good at like reading, like in the test, or like you got to read the whole question to get your answer?
Yeah, that was you got that shockingly fast.
I actually got. I mean, I was thinking Florida as well.
I was thinking about football. I was on football, but I got the sweet.
Yes,
the key there, and I missed it completely. So
I mean, you guys are welcome to guess other stuff just in case my logic.
Well, we got
check
you.
out.
Yeah, we're going.
I'll go with
going
that. We're going with that. Yeah, that was crazy smart. If it's
yeah,
not
I mean,
that,
as soon as I saw Sweet, I was just like, yeah, he's talking about Florida. Miami beat us in the round of 32. We would have gone to the Sweet 16 had we beaten them. So,
and it would have definitely been sweet. Yeah. Infinite Auburn Chase, appreciate you hanging out with us, man. He says, I think a lot of that hate comes from the fact that Auburn fans are accustomed to a mobile QB. TJ is not perceived as mobile. Bottom line, support the starter. We don't know what QB development is.
yeah, I mean, this is
that's pretty
something we
much it.
said. Yeah, I don't know if we said this on camera or off camera. It's like, but if your issue is that you want a mobile quarterback and TJ isn't, then I don't have a debate for you on that. That's just a preference thing. But I just say that being mobile is not a prerequisite for being good.
Right. Well, again, the only way for that argument for a lot of these people to hold water is to immediately crap on the offensive line.
Yeah.
And say, well, we have to have a mobile QB because these guys can't block. And I'm not sure that's the case either. Well, actually, I know that's not the case.
Yeah.
They were the fourth best pass blocking line in the league last year. It looked a little rough. It was not because Bo could run. That wasn't it. That's not how that's rated. They just it can look different. This can look multiple ways. This is what we hoped Gus's offense would do for QBs when Stidham came in, or when Jeremy Johnson took over. Even like we don't need a mobile QB for this system, and it felt like he really tried to prove that point, and I think that point failed miserably for the most part, right? Stidham was pretty good. He wasn't, I wouldn't call him mobile. He wasn't exactly a statue, but like this, I agree with this statement. I think just people are so enamored with running quarterbacks, and even the better teams in the league. Like, can you imagine if Bryce Young wasn't mobile? He would have had a really, really rough season behind Alabama's offensive line. But conversely, we've seen guys do this and not be able to run. It's really just about the system, man. They have to scheme
Kyle
it better.
Trask is a perfect example of this.
Correct.
Yeah. You just have to scheme it right for the type of quarterback that you have, and you have to scheme receivers open. And this is going to be more about the coaches than it is about the player, I think, this season.
Right. Philip Coleman makes a good comment here. He says TJ has only started 8 games in his 2 years of college. That's not even a full season worth of playing, which is what we've pointed out in the past as well. No first team reps and thrusted into action. Give him a chance.
Yeah. Again, accurate. And that first season was a COVID year. It was a year that was hard on everybody. What a terrible year to be a first year starter, right? No spring with the team. True freshman in college, you worked out in, summer workouts maybe, but that's it, man. Not a lot of work was had before his freshman season. And I think he played 4 games that season or something like that.
Something like that.
I think maybe 4 games that season. There was a really good performance against South Carolina, and there were some average to bad performances in there as well too. Just give them a chance. Now, again, I have the same energy about the leash that I'm willing to give people.
Right.
I don't watch it for years and years and years if it's not going to come together, because a lot of different facets of the team suffer when the quarterback is not good.
Right.
Receivers cannot showcase their talent if the quarterback is not good. They just can't. And that's another position that we have to recruit better. So, we need him to play well.
And what we're learning too is the running backs suffer, because all you got to do is just key in on them and force you to beat them through the air if you're not doing well through the air. So you just become very easy to defend. Jazzy Joe comes back and says, good but negative. It's Oklahoma.
Can't put all your chips in me, man.
Oklahoma.
That's what I was saying. Let's get some more guesses.
Oklahoma too. Somebody.
Yeah, he said in enigma guest in the comments. So yeah.
Oklahoma.
Is that because it was a Sugar Bowl?
Yes, that's what he's saying.
I'm sorry. I just saw Oklahoma. I'm here, but I'm not here.
Yeah. Remember, we're a football school. We are football.
Grind says, will we have 1,000-yard rusher, or will they split too many carries?
No, Tank gets 1,000 yards.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
I think he gets 1,000.
That was one of our facts or not questions a couple of weeks ago. I think Tank does get 1,000.
Yeah. I think he has 500 before game 4.
Okay.
Or at the end of game 4. Yeah, I think Tank runs wild in these first couple of games, and we'll see some 175-yard performances. And I'm talking about like 10 carries, 175 yards. I think you see him really break out against Mercer and San Jose State. Solid performance versus Penn State, and then who was it after that? Missouri. Yeah, and then just run all over them too.
Crazy. He goes crazy on Missouri, probably. Lawrence says, who's drawing straws between y'all to go to Tuscaloosa? I got a feeling Ike is going.
We'll both be there. Go, yeah. Definitely come. I'm just definitely going to the Iron Bowl this year. It's been a while since I've been to the junkyard that is Tuscaloosa, but should be fun. The last time I was there for a game, I had my car toilet papered, mummified actually. Left an orange and blue shaker in the back window.
Was that 2004?
Was it? Yeah, I think it was.
Okay.
No, we played them at home in 2004.
Did we? Was that a home game?
No. I'm talking about the undefeated year.
I thought that was at home.
That was a road game.
Pretty much the even years are going to be on the road against Bama.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that didn't change in the switch up. We changed Georgia, didn't we?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Only thing on my car that signified that I was Auburn. They had a dorm called the Rose Towers, and we had some friends that we went to high school with that stayed there. I parked there and I walked back to my car, and it was just toilet paper. They put it in the tailpipe too, like a whole roll, just right in there. I'm glad I saw it before I started driving.
Yeah, that would have been bad for you. Then you would have been stuck in Tuscaloosa. All right. Allie says, I'm ready for the next B Will's Bums segment. What you got, B Will?
I am cooking up exactly how and who to attack with this. I'm not sure. I got some options. Nobody's jumped out there and said nothing super stupid.
Yeah, it's hard during the offseason to have a bum list.
Yeah.
But, somebody would be dumb.
When that season gets going, though.
I'm gonna have to pick and choose. It's gonna be a multiple choice list on who to go for. But yeah, we're cooking it up. I don't want it to just be I'm just trying to get something going. So it needs to be sincere hate from my heart. I need to be passionate about this hate. So I'm gonna wait till somebody jumps out there real stupid, and we'll have another one soon.
Stephen Lisenby says, who else saw Seth Williams moss Kelvin Joseph for the second time last night in the Broncos preseason game? Who saw that?
I did not.
I saw the highlight of it.
Yeah,
but,
that was pretty.
Nobody cares about the Broncos preseason game. So,
man. I'm glad. You know what? I'm glad Seth Williams is still on the roster. Let me say that. He got drafted really late in that draft, and he didn't get any burn last season during the regular season. So I'm glad that they stuck with him, and hopefully he's continuing to develop, because what he did was what he mostly did in college as well. So hopefully he can show a full array. We were down on development for wide receivers for a while here, and maybe that's why he didn't get his opportunity year one. But hopefully he picks it up and can show something here year two.
Sean Feely says, do you see a dual QB situation throughout the year, or just go with mainly one QB?
I mean, Harsin has already said himself that he will likely. I mean, he's not opposed to playing multiple quarterbacks. I think it's going to be situational. I don't think he's just going to do like a quarterback shuffle where it's like, oh, you get this drive and you get the next drive. Like, I think there's going to be a starter, and then there's going to be packages for someone else. So if, because this is a weird. It's going to feel like a weird ding on Bo Nix. He was like the worst quarterback sneak quarterback I've ever seen in my life. Like, he just could not quarterback sneak at all. And that's one thing that, I mean, again, it's going to seem like a weird kudos. TJ Finley does extremely well, right? So, like, if it's 4th and short and Robbie's your starting quarterback, why not bring it in TJ Finley just to sneak, or just to have the threat of the sneak and then turn around and hand? Like, there's a lot of scenarios in which there are packaged things that you can do regardless of who the starter is. And I think that that's something that we'll definitely have in the playbook for us to be able to be multiple in how we attack teams.
Cleveland asks, will there be repeat offenders on the bum list, or just one and done? I think it's the more of the former, especially if they keep saying stupid stuff, right, B?
Yeah, if they keep jumping out there real stupid, I'm gonna keep putting them on there. I'm expecting, really what I'm hoping for is an unnecessary A&M loss so I can, get the oil hot and skillet for Jimbo and do a little light fry on the outside, just browning. And then later in the season, they finish somewhere even 9-3 or worse. And then I can put them back in the oven to finish them up. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there twice. If you gonna keep being the bum, we're gonna keep putting you on the list. That's how it's gonna go.
Jazzy says, "Be Will, my girl is a Bammer, and she enjoyed your bum list, especially about Nick Saban. She agrees about the scheduling he does or doesn't do."
Man, Saban ain't no fool. Yeah, I want y'all to think back. 2011, we saw they won the championship, and they had a really, really good defense. I remember it was all that hype, so deep, that defense, and they're just killing people all year, right? And then they played Georgia Southern at home in Tuscaloosa, and Georgia Southern put up 3 touchdowns on Alabama in that game, and it was very shocking. I mean, they still won by like 20 points or something, but the difference was they had been blanking people all year. Like, people were not getting yards on that team. And they asked Nick Saban why they did so good. He was like, well, if we had known that they were running the triple option, we wouldn't even schedule them. They weren't running it when we scheduled them. In other words, I'm not trying to challenge my team. I'm trying to get wins. I don't want to put tough people on the schedule. I'm not about that. I'm not about to put my team at risk for losses. Lord Jesus, you have the biggest advantage of running momentum and championship and recruiting we've ever seen in college football. What are you scared of? He is scared to test his teams, all these neutral site games. Auburn, we took a team out to K-State 2014, right? Played them at their house. We weren't even that great. Our defense was shaky. Nick Marshall and company got it done. Penn State, that was a risky game to play for us. Now, it ended up not necessarily deciding our season. 7-5 and 6-6. I think we were going to be the same team regardless, but at least we're out there to play it. At least we put it on the schedule. You can't put one on the schedule, Nick. I have never seen so much cowardice from somebody who has so much of an advantage. It is embarrassing. Jesus.
And there's your sneak peek for B. Will's bumps list. more of that to come this season, ladies and gentlemen. Bob Williams says, not sure I see a place for Joko this season. Special teams, mop up, maybe next season. Thoughts on that?
Now that he's moved to the edge group, I think he's going to have his opportunities.
Yeah.
And again, it depends on what kind of defense we're running. If we're going a 3-man front and we do a 4 linebacker situation, he can be an outside linebacker and that kind of thing. So yeah, Joko Willis will get his opportunities. Now he's not going to be, minus injury, going to be a guy who you're going to see out there for a lot of snaps. He's definitely going to still be in special teams. But there's a place for him on the team. He's a talented kid. He likes hitting people. That's clear. So you can't hold that down for too long. So I do anticipate seeing Joko Willis make some contributions this season.
Lawrence says, I got my eye to the Georgia-Mississippi State game. Will Rogers versus Stetson Bennett. This is a layup for Mike G. Who y'all got?
I mean, the game, UGA, because defenses count.
I was about to say it's they're not playing,
one-on-one basketball.
One-on-one, right?
Yeah.
Who do I think is the better quarterback? The answer is Will Rogers. Who do I think has the better team? The answer is Georgia.
All right.
I'll be interested to see if they have a lot of things to replace on that Georgia defense this year, though.
Wait, what week is that?
That's a good question.
So we'll see. We'll see if this isn't going to be the same Georgia defense it was last year.
Still going to be good.
Yeah,
Still going to be good.
Yeah, they're not going to be. They're not going to be.
If it's early in the
generationally
season,
good.
Mississippi State may get an opportunity to catch them while they haven't gotten things together. If it's after week 6. I'd still take Georgia.
Oh yeah, it's November. Yeah, they'll be.
They'll have it figured out by then.
Yikes! Yeah, it's gonna be. Yes. That's all I got. I tell the people about why they need to become a patron right now if they're not one already.
Man, listen, make it happen as soon as you can, because once we get into the season and all of these benefits start cranking up, man, you're gonna wish you had jumped on board, and you're gonna come on later. It's okay. You're gonna look back and you're going to say, man, Ike told me to come on board because we had a lot of awesome things lined up at the War Report, and you're going to wish you had done it. But listen, $5.99 per month is what's going to get you to the place where you need to be to get all of the benefits. You can still support us at $3.99 per month, and we definitely appreciate that. Just as a word of caution, if you're doing that from an iPhone, that additional charge that you see on there is not something that we're racking up on you. We're not lying to you about the prices. The iPhone and folks at Apple decided that they needed a little bit of the action as well, so they charge a little bit more to be able to utilize the YouTube app subscription policy through their iPhone app. So just go to a website, log in there. Your benefits will transfer over to your account. We've got the guy Josh Pate coming on to the show, already recorded, so that's going to be dropping for you all tomorrow. Make sure you are locked in with that, and you are going to be able to hear that. So turn your notification bells on and just listen to myself and Mike G talk to Josh Pate about the things that we have coming up for Auburn football this season. If you didn't get an opportunity to win anything today, again, thanks to our sponsor, GWT2 Energy Consulting Services, for sponsoring that giveaway. But if you didn't win, you can hit thewarreport.com and shop, and you'll be able to purchase something for yourself. We've got all of the merch that we've been giving away, in addition to a lot more things out there on that store. So if you want to support in that way and you don't want to do a monthly contribution, this is another way you can support us. You can support us as well by going to the About section of our YouTube channel and hitting up the GoFundMe, and you can support us and the Lee County Humane Society. So 50 cents on every dollar for that is going to go towards them. So if you'd like to do that, make sure you go there and do that today. As well, we are on podcast, the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report, on all of your podcast platforms. You can listen to in audio format to all of the things that we've been doing here on YouTube, in addition to some audio only things. And we've got way more audio only things that are going to be coming up for you as we get into this season. So just make sure that you are locked in here with us at the War Report. And we appreciate all of the support that you guys are doing. And listen, support us by supporting our sponsors, because they are the main reason that we're able to do the things that we're doing right now. On mute there, C.
We appreciate our sponsors as well as you guys watching with us live. If you're watching on replay as well, regardless of how or when you're watching, you can do this. Share this video, guys. Use the hashtag. Smash that like button before you get out of here. If you're new to our channel, please subscribe. And guys, we're on social media. You can interact with us either Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can find us at The War Report. And if you're on TikTok, you can find us at TW Report. That's it for now, guys. We've got more content dropping tomorrow, as well as our live midweek report this week. We'll see you then. But until then, guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend. As always, War Eagle.
War Eagle.
War Eagle.